Welcome back, I'm Miss Sarah, and this video we're going to talk about different ways to display our data. So, in the last video we broke down numerical data versus categorical data. So this T-chart kind of goes through which types of data displays are used for which. So let's first break down one variable versus two variable, I guess. So one variable data is just when you want to examine one variable, kind of straightforward. But like an example could be how many points people score in a basketball game, for example. Okay, so our variable is number of points. Um, for numerical data, so number of points is numerical data, data displays we can use to display this are histograms, dot plots, frequency tables, box plots, and stem plots. And I know this might not mean a lot to you because we haven't gone through the different types, but this is a good breakdown of which data displays is used for which type of data. Whereas categorical data, like we talked about when we're receiving like a word back or like a qualitative or a category, right? We're going to sort that data into a bar graph, a pie chart, or another frequency table. It can be used for both. So one variable, we're talking about number of points in a basketball game. But when I have two variables, such as the number of points scored in a basketball game and the player's height, right? The data we use to sort that data, or the display rather, is a scatter plot or a line graph. So two numerical variables, we need a scatter plot or a line graph to compare like one variable on each axis, right? The number of points a player scores in a basketball game compared to his height. We can compare kind of our taller players scoring more, our short players scoring more, and for that we use a scatter plot or a line graph. So good breakdown here. Pause, take this info all in. One variable versus two, and also numeric versus categorical, whereas like which data display are we choosing? So now I'm going to go through each type of data display, talk about basically how to identify it, but also like how to create some of the most important ones. So first off is a frequency table. So it shows how often, right, or how frequent something occurs. Frequency can be shown using tally marks or the actual number, and it can be used with both because it was on both sides of that T-chart with categorical or numeric. Okay, so frequency table, how often something's happening. So here's an example. I have this set of data, right? It's looking kind of gross. I don't know what to do with it. I need to sort it somehow. I don't like looking at that. Doesn't mean a lot to me in this list, right? Um, we're going to put it into a frequency table. And what that means is we're going to tally up, for example, how many scores of a 1 I see. So look at my little pen here. Here's a 1. Here's a 1. Here's a 1. And here's a 1. So in this data set, I have 4 scores of a 1. So if this were talking like how many, or what's your score on like an online quiz, 1 through 6, well, 4 people got a score of 1. So I have 4 tally marks, and then that translates into the number 4 for the frequency, right? And you can kind of go through this data set. Here I have how many 2s? A lot of 2s. I guess you can X them all out. But if I were to X all these 2s out, I would count up 9 2s. So the tally mark is optional, I guess. You don't really need this tally column here. But what we do want is the frequency. Super important. 9 people got a score of 2. And that's kind of how we read the frequency table, right? 6 people got a score of 3. So this jumbled list of numbers doesn't mean a lot to me until I organize it in some organized way into a frequency table. Now I can clearly see, okay, 2 people got the highest score on this quiz of a 6, right? And that's how we kind of make and read and interpret a frequency table. I'm going to be using these a lot. Here's another example. So the left frequency table, the scores are just listed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the right, this frequency table has the ages, or like the scores, intervaled. So what that means is, say you wanted to count up the ages of people in your church, for example, and you count the babies to the people age 9, and you find that there's 7 people from age 0 to 9. Well, we put 7 as the frequency for that interval, right? Now we're going to count up how like the 10-year-olds to the 19-year-olds. Well, I found 5 in this specific church. 5 people from age 10 to 19. Okay, so the left frequency table has the scores listed out, whereas the right has this ages or scores in intervals. Okay. Bar graphs. You have seen these since middle school, me even before that probably, okay? I'm not going to talk too much about a bar graph. But like one step further is you can have like a bar graph where the bars are side by side. So it shows like multiple pieces of information. So this one's talking about total people, male. The male is the blue bar, and the female is like the reddish pink bar. By continent. So by continent, by gender, it's showing like a side by side bar graph. Just a little bit a more complex bar graph, but you definitely have seen these before. A pictograph. Here's two examples of a pictograph. So we're not going to be doing much like making these, but we just have to be able to identify what a pictograph is. So the first example on the top, it says the number of times grade 8 students littered, and the picture is a trash can, and they give you a little key in the right-hand corner. It says like a trash can is 3 students. This kind of is up for interpretation, right? Because we have like this, who knows if it's half of a trash can or 2/3. But being able to just identify that it is a pictograph is enough for me. We're not going to be doing much making these. I don't really like this because who knows if that is, you have to kind of like judge, make a guess on like if that's half of a trash can or 2/3, and it could be up for interpretation based on who's looking at it. So that's a pictograph, right? We're using a trash can as the picture, and then again separated into intervals with a key. And here the picture is kind of like a green rectangle or whatever. With an X in it, and that it says one of those is equal to 4 hours, and it's talking about how many hours people watch TV in a week. So a picture, we got a trash can, and then like also like a symbol. Just being able to identify a pictograph. A dot plot. So a dot plot is going to be a data display that we use a lot. Okay, we have to identify it, which is pretty straightforward, but we also have to be able to make it. So these are easy to make, and it's super easy and nice to get a quick view of the data. It works best with discrete data, which means we can count it, right? How many goals are you scoring in your soccer game? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We tally up the number in a frequency table, and we put it on a dot plot. Here, the example is how many minutes people take to eat breakfast. So if we wanted to interpret this, we got to count the dots. 6 people took 0 minutes to eat breakfast. That's how we read this. So 6 people didn't eat breakfast at all. 2 people took 1 minute to eat breakfast, so they probably grabbed a granola bar and ran out the door. 3 people took 2 minutes to eat breakfast. Does everyone see where I'm going with this? The dots represent the people, and here we have the number of minutes it takes to eat breakfast on our axes. Okay, dot plots are pretty straightforward. Again, easy to get a quick view of the data. Right, we realize no one's taking between 6 and 7 minutes to eat breakfast. Could be a good observation. Here we have an example. It says we asked 17 students how many text messages they had sent on a particular day. So again, here's our list of data, and then they took that data and put it into a dot plot. So they crossed off the numbers. They made axes here ranging from 0 to 9. They counted up 3 people sent 0 text messages, so they have 3 dots at the 0 tick mark. Well, 1 person sent 1 text message. 2 people sent 2 text messages. 5 people sent 3, and so on. Okay, and you have to make sure you have 17 dots because they asked 17 people. That's horrible. But 17 people, so you need 17 dots, a dot per person to account for all of the data. Okay, again, easy, quick, very easy way to represent the data using a dot plot. A histogram. We did these briefly. Histograms show how many data values fall in a certain interval, right? Or frequency. We talked about what frequency is. It's used with continuous data. It's kind of like we're binning the numbers. So in this example on the right, we have tree heights. We have trees on the left and the heights on the bottom. And when I say intervals, I mean kind of what the height is going up by. So we go from 100 to 150, 150 to 200. So we're going by an interval of 50, right? And what I recommend us doing when we kind of interpret or analyze a histogram is writing the height of the bar or the bin at the top. So here we have 5, because it's kind of in between 0 and 10. We have 5 trees that range from 100 to 150 centimeters. And again, this is just going to be useful when we ask you interpreting questions. So we have 30 trees that range from 150 to 200 centimeters. Here we have 25. Looks like 25, might be right in the middle of 20 and 30. Here we have 50. This writing is so bad. Okay, and here we have, I don't know, what's that? A little bit over 10. Let's call it 12. Okay, so this is going to help us to analyze the data if I ask you questions, right? Such as like, what's the bin size, or how many trees range from 100 to 200? Well, you'd have to count up the 30 and the 5. So there's 35 trees that have a height from between 100 to 200. It's kind of these two bars. We'll do another example here. Again, same picture here. So how wide are, maybe pause and do these 3 questions on your own and then come back and we'll go over the answers. Number 1, how wide are the intervals, bins, and buckets used in this histogram? So here we're talking bin size, counting by 50s. Approximately how many trees were from 300 to 350? So this is where I said the writing the heights in the top. I'm not going to do this again, but if we want 300 to 350, well, we said that was about 12. So 12 trees range in that from 300 to 350. About how many trees were less than 200 centimeters tall? So here's the 200 and we want less. So we need this bar and this bar. And we said that was 35. Yes? So that's where writing in the heights of the bars will help in the future. Here's another example of a histogram. And another one, you notice how here we have a gap, there's no bar, and all that means is there's no one aged 80 to 90 that they have in their data set. This one's talking about the number of students receiving grades. 12 people got an A, 28 people got a B, okay? And you would kind of write the heights above just to be more precise. So ranging from A to F, the number of people who received each grade, shown in a histogram there. All right. So creating your own histogram, first step I would say label your axes X and Y. On the y-axis, you're going to have your frequency or your number of data values. Then you're going to tally up your bins or buckets. Frequency tables, perfect for this. Then you're going to go ahead and sketch your histogram, right? You won't need a bar or a bin if you have 0 people in that. If a value falls on the end of an interval, it goes to the bin in the right. We'll do an example where that happens, but that's an important point, right? So here you can pause, and I gave you a data set. It's about 20 people randomly selected UConn graduates, and you're talking about the number of student loan debt they have in thousands. Oh my goodness. But you can use this data set, make a frequency table, bin the numbers, right? Create an interval, and you're going to be creating the histogram, kind of like what you did in Delta Math. You can try it out on a piece of paper, make your X and Y axis, label them, and you can show me when we go to school. A box plot. So we're going to be making these not till later in the month, but for now, let's just try to identify. So it's a box plot. It can also be called a box and whisker plot. It uses 5 stats. So it uses the minimum. I'll circle these. So to create a box plot, you need these 5 stats. A minimum, you need the quarter 1 or Q1, you need the median, you need the Q3 or the upper quartile, and you also need the maximum. So again, we're going to be finding these 5 stats and making them later in the month, but as long as you know how to identify, okay, this is a box plot, I'm set for that. So it can be horizontal or vertical. As you see this example, the box plot's kind of flipped, but 5 stats, it splits it up into 4 kind of groups, right? We have the minimum is group 0, group quarter 1, quarter 2 is the median, quarter 3, and quarter 4. Okay, so using 5 stats, it splits the data up into quarters. Box and whisker plot, again, we'll talk more about these 5 stats and kind of actually finding them later. But this is what 2 box plots look like. And lastly, we have a stem and leaf plot. We're not going to be doing much with these. You've probably seen these in middle school. It displays and organizes the data